morning. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Good morning. Calling the roll for the Monday, August 16th Board of Control meeting. It is 11:02. Nan Baker.
Here.
Dale Miller.
Here.
Trevor Mackler serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones.
Here.
Mike Dever.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
Catherine Takachuk.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, if we can review the Board of Control minutes from last week, August 9th. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Let me know once you've reviewed.
Move to approve.
Second it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Is there any public comment?
Morning. My name's Chris Glassburn. I live in North Olmsted. I am the president of a company called Project Govern. I'm here today to encourage the board to either table or reconsider BC 2021-442 concerning county redistricting. I do this for two primary reasons. One is the deadline implied by the redistricting process as outlined by the county. The first is that September 1st is what has been signaled in this RFP proposal as the deadline. The state's deadline, which is what the county charter mandates as a match, is September 15th. At any time, while there is a two-step process for the state, there's September 1st and September 15th, but at any time, the state could pass its plan even before September 1st. So for the county to conduct its process before September 1st is not a protection for the county, nor does it enable public participation in an effective manner in this very narrow time frame. The second reason is the confusion at the selection of a contract for a higher bid. The item listed on the Board of Control right now is at $79,000. I don't know all the particulars of this bid. What I do know is that there were 3 vendors that bid. The company that I work for bid a base bid of $62,500 plus an additional $6,500 for insurances. I will note that the insurances are not required by the state of Ohio or other local government entities that I've done bids on, and would encourage the county to reduce or eliminate most of those insurances to save the county money, which is why I itemized that out in the bid. But in addition, it is hard as an outsider to understand the reason why, beyond just that there's a lower bid, that the scoring may have gone the way that it did. Of the 3 firms that bid, 2 had 100% local teams. Neither of those firms were selected. Speaking for my own firm, we have a very robust minority engagement component with Reverend Dr. Aaron Phillips, who's with me today. Additionally, the firm that was selected, while a firm that engages in public relations work for years in Cuyahoga County, does not have in-house capability to do redistricting work. There are only 2 vendors, to my knowledge, in the state of Ohio that have that, which are in fact my team and then the other bid that was not selected. I would strongly encourage this board to both take the time to fully vet this. We have some major changes that will go on with the council redistricting. This decision will impact how council districts go for the next decade. And to also not deny the public the opportunity to fully express its views by limiting this process to only September 1st, as opposed to September 15th, the actual state deadline. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment?
Good morning. My name is Pastor Aaron Phillips. I'm the senior pastor of the Shore House Baptist Church. It's located at 11318 Miles Avenue. Best place to be on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. And I'm also that's my spiel. I'm also the executive director of the Cleveland Clergy Coalition, which is an amalgamation of all of the African American clergy groups in Cuyahoga County. And I'm here today which is tough. I just let you all know, I would have preferred to have one of our other pastors come to speak on this because I'm a part of the contract. So I don't, I want to be clear about that. I'm in the project governed contract, the coalition is. So I would have preferred to have another pastor come, but Councilman Miller, Mondays are pastors' Saturdays. So I really don't want to be here myself because I'm very tired. We worked very hard yesterday. But I'm concerned about everything. I echo and say ditto to everything Mr. Glassburn said. So I really don't want you to talk about that. But what I'm very concerned about is this is a redistricting. And there is no minority participation in the contract had been awarded. I actually had a conversation with the young lady today who they named in the contract that was awarded, Brother Boyle, and she knew nothing about the contract, nothing. And she's not contracted with that company at all. And I would have preferred to just have a talk with my dear friend Jim Boyle, because I know they are fair people here. But we are concerned about that because redistricting is so important. We only do this every 10 years, but it's really important to the minority community, especially how these lines are drawn, knowing that we're going to lose 2 wards, probably in the African-American neighborhood in the city of Cleveland. The population in East Cleveland has gone down, and we are extremely concerned about how District 11 is going to be drawn. So we want to make sure that it's my responsibility, whether I was in this part of this contract or not, to make sure that the community is well heard from in drawing these lines. So I'm very concerned about that, and I know that we actually had a strategy to engage the community. That's something that the coalition does on a regular basis, and I didn't see any strategy on the award that was awarded. And I know that the strategy that they currently have, and just hiring an African-American person, the young lady's name in there, she's young African-American woman. She's a lovely young lady. She works very hard. She worked hard on the Shontel Brown campaign with us. So it's nothing disparaging towards her at all. But for her not to even know about this contract tells me something about the folks who are being awarded the contract, that they haven't really engaged the community. They don't know how to engage the community. And they need more than, you can't just hire an African-American person and say you're engaging the African-American community. You got to do more than that. You got to be able to dig into the deep community, be able to have those meetings and hear from the right people, know who those leaders are, and that's who we are as the Cleveland Clergy Coalition. So those are my very serious, adamant concerns, and I hope that you all would address those concerns and reconsider awarding the award that you did for the redistricting contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment at this time? Hearing none, I make a motion to move on, I guess, to next
No
new items.
motions required. We'll just go to
Oh,
the first
okay.
item. First item, BC 2021-439, Department of Public Works recommending an award and enter into a contract with Weed Pro Limited in the amount not to exceed $39,923 for organic lawn care and weed control services for various county buildings for the period August 16th, 2021 through August 15th, 2023.
Good morning, Matt Reimer representing the Department of Public Works. As stated, this is a 2-year contract request for organic lawn treatment services for both fertilization and weed control. It applies to 29 properties throughout the county, 15 of which are sanitary sewer lift station properties, pump station properties. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions on this item?
Move for approval?
Item approved. I'm sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item approved, next item.
Next item, BC 2021-440, Department of Public Works recommending an award and enter into a contract with Rossi Landscaping Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $27,070 for landscaping services at the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter for the period August 16th, 2021 through July 31st, 2022.
Again, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This was an informal bid that was put out to supply the animal shelter with landscaping services for 1 year. This will assist us in keeping all the grounds maintained, tree shrubs, as well as lawns and play yards as well.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2021-441, Department of Development, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 7145, which will result in a payment to Burton Bell Car Development Incorporated in the amount of $150,000 for operating support to help promote ongoing initiatives in the central neighborhood for the period August 16th, 2021 through November 30th, 2022, and recommending the payment in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Paul Hertig with the Department of Development. The Department of Development is providing operating support to the Community Development Corporation Burton Bell Carr, which is one of our key community partners for the work that we're doing in the central neighborhood of Cleveland. Last week, we came before this board and were authorized to provide some operating support to the Friendly Inn Settlement House. Our support for Burton Bell Carr is in a similar vein. Out of the $150,000, there's two parts. $50,000 is specifically for the planting of trees. This will support the planting of an additional 100 trees in the central neighborhood. And the way it's done will provide jobs for central neighborhood residents because Burton Bell and Carr does recruit residents to do the actual tree planting. The $100,000 is general operating support over a period of 18 months. It will support things including but not limited to Burton Bell Carr's work with small businesses in the neighborhood. We're working in partnership with them and 4 other organizations to provide enhanced support for all their small businesses. Work directly with residents to assess their concerns and, as part of a team, along with us, match residents with good, well-paying jobs. The most immediate event, which is being supported, is happening Wednesday of this week when the county executive, along with the council president and Cleveland Council member Dolores Gray, will be speaking to residents at a town hall meeting, which is very important because this will help us further develop and refine the types of supports we provide to the central neighborhood. So we ask your approval for this operating support to help the administration continue its work in the central neighborhood.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, I have a question.
Councilman Miller?
Thank you for the presentation, and my question is whether this program is part of the annual $1 million a year tree planting program that the county has been doing, or is this entirely separate and not related to that program?
Thank you for the question, Councilman. We're actually bringing $50,000 of that appropriation that was not used in, I believe, as a budget transfer going to come to council at the September 14th meeting, so it is part of that.
So it's 50,000 from that program and 100,000 from other sources, is that correct?
Correct, Council. The other source is the Department of Development's operating budget.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Mr. McAleer?
Paul, will the 100,000, will you need an additional appropriation for the 100,000, or are you able to sustain that with your existing budget?
It will be within our existing budget, no additional appropriation.
Is there something that we decided not to fund this year and just term, 100,000 is a decent amount of your overall budget.
Right.
Is there, are we reconfiguring the budget or what?
It was not required. This will actually leave about $50,000 left in the budget once the transfer is done September 14th for any last-minute items that arise during the balance of the year.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
Move to approve?
Any second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
The next item will be read into the record with an amended time period at the request of the department. Item BC 2021-442, County Council, recommending an award and enter into a contract with R Strategy Group LLC in the amount not to exceed $79,000 for redistricting services and related activities for reapportionment of county council districts in accordance with Charter of Cuyahoga County, Article 3, Section 3.042, for the period August 11th, 2021 through December 31st, 2021.
Good morning, Jim Boyle, Policy Advisor for the Cuyahoga County Council. Before you is BC 2021-442. One of the weekly questions that comes from the County Council is whether or not any of these matters are walk-ons. This matter is listed as a walk-on. Just for clarification, All of the information and documentation is in the system currently, including the IG registration. We received confirmation this morning. Again, the matter before you is the decennial contract for, or the redistricting that happens on a decennial basis. In 2011, the county retained the services of a consultant to assist with the redistricting. A decision was made to use the same process in 2021. A couple things that are of importance. One, the insurance requirements that are contained both in the RFQ that was issued as well as the contract is before you was determined by the Law Department's Risk Management Division. We met with Risk Management early on. Those were the terms and requirements established by the Law Department's Risk Management. As it relates to the time frame of this, again, it is important to note that this matter is on a very compacted time schedule. It's been detailed not just in these meetings, but in communications with the county council members as well. The mandate in the Ohio Constitution is very clear, and it indicates that the commission, which is a state commission, shall adopt a final General Assembly district plan not later than the first day of September of a year ending in the numeral 1. So that's obviously this time. Mr. Glassburn is, of course, correct. I mean, they could do it sooner, which makes this even more vital that this body move forward as soon as possible. As it relates to the actual RFQ, an RFQ, just for timeline purposes, again, noting the accelerated calendar of this matter. On July 20th, the RFQ was issued. That RFQ was listed both on the county council page. A press release was issued as well. The RFQ itself went out to 20 vendors, including vendors that had bid on this matter 10 years ago, as well as any known entities that would be likely to be involved in this process. On August 6th, the RFQ was closed. We met. There were three submissions. Those 3 responses were reviewed by a panel of staff members. Again, noting the time schedule, on Monday, August 9th, we met, discussed, scored the matters, and made a recommendation of a vendor. Thereafter, obviously this matter went before we met with the county executive, who agreed to put this matter on the agenda for today. And that's where we are. It is a vital matter required by the Cuyahoga County Charter that this situation be attended to in the time frame articulated here.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
In regards to the minority participation of the 3 vendors, can you just speak on that?
Again, the entity that was and I apologize, I have it seated over there, and perhaps, Trevor, you can articulate a little greater than I. Our strategy group is the recommended vendor. Our strategy group has partnered with, I think, 2 other entities that are experts in this field. As it relates to the minority engagement in that, I know that there are minority partners engaged in this situation. As it relates to what the proportion is, I apologize. I just don't know the answer to that.
Can I respond or add to that? Mr. Boyle is correct, Mike. Our strategy, as Pastor Phillips mentioned, there is someone that they brought on as a consultant. She is a minority individual, and Target Smart also has some minority individuals working on their team. It's not a traditional kind of road project or whatever where there's like a 20%
Right.
MB or W, but in terms of having minority individuals working on the contract, that is the case. I think that is the case for all 3 respondents.
Right. If you could also talk about engagement. Obviously, you're within a 10 days, 15-day timeline to put this together. How do you engage the community in regards to this?
Well, and thank you for the question. In the RFQ itself, there was a component requiring not just the actual work, the mapping and the gathering of the data that was going to be released by the federal government, but rather as it relates to the need for public engagement. The recommended vendor is establishing a website to allow public comment, and then hopefully upon retention, we'll establish meetings around the county to engage all of the public in the process. That's similar to what we did in 2011 as well.
Can I add a little bit more to that, Jim? It would obviously be up to the districting commission, right? They have 6 planned meetings right now in this building, over the next, 2 or so weeks. So the recommended vendor is going to recommend, to the, districting commission that there be a east, west, and south public forum at locations to be determined, but they are, in their proposal, they plan on having 3, as long as, it's a public meeting still, so the districting commission, who's responsible for these meetings, agree to have those 3 meetings.
And if I can just touch upon that briefly, to further add to that, the redistricting commission appointed by the county council did conduct their organizational meeting. And one of the components of the organizational meeting from this 5-member panel was what steps they would take for the public engagement aspect of their roles. And so there's not just a desire and a need, obviously, from the vendor, but also from the body itself to make sure that all of the public has an opportunity to comment. I will note that we have reached out to what I would label as some of the expected entities, the League of Women Voters, for example, that did appear at the initial organizational meeting, who will play a role, or at least in providing public comment as well.
Thank you.
Additional comment, questions, I'm sorry, additional questions?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
So to follow up about the public meetings, is it going to be the strategy to hold the public meetings early in the process, or is it going to be the strategy to hold them a little later in the process so that the public will have access to early drafts of what the map might look like to comment upon that?
I'm going to answer that in a bit of a hazy fashion. I apologize for that. Noting the accelerated timeline for this, I think that the public engagement will be an ongoing process, literally from cradle to grave. So I do anticipate that the public will be encouraged and fostered in engagement as it relates to the maps in an ongoing manner. I do think that that's important. Obviously, this is a public entity. The commission itself will make the determination of how they want that matter to proceed. It is my expectation and hope that the 5-member commission, as well as the consultant who will be assisting, will encourage early and often public engagement.
Yeah.
Councilman Miller, can I add one more to that as well? It's my understanding tomorrow, the districting commission is meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock in, I believe, the room next door. Our strategy group, one of the decision points that they're going to be asking the commission to make tomorrow is to set the public forums and when they want those public forums to be. So that, right now, if approved, will be a decision point that our strategy is going to be asking the commission members to make tomorrow.
Any additional questions?
Yes. So did the reviewing team judge our strategy group proposal to be superior in quality to the other 2? And if so, what were the differences that worked in their favor?
I will comment in this fashion. Our strategy group was the highest scored vendor of the 3 that submitted. Of particular note, I believe, was the experience that was stated in the submission for redistricting with the team that they had assembled. That was from my perspective. Again, the score sheet indicated, again, noting that it was a panel scoring. That was certainly my belief, and I feel comfortable and confident that they were the most qualified of the vendors, setting aside that their pricing was the lowest as well.
So that goes to my next question, which is, can you compare for us the pricing of the three vendors?
Yes, and if I can just step aside, because I have my submissions I left there.
Jim, I can assist too when.
Yeah, our strategy group bid included a not to exceed of $79,000. The triad was, and I apologize, I'm flipping through here, included a not to exceed, it was in the 90s if I recall. and I-
Triwa was not to exceed 100,000.
Oh, not to exceed 100, which was the stated number in the RFQ itself. It was listed as a not to exceed. Project Govern issued what I would label as more of a menu. Their, at least in terms of their scope, the max they listed was 95,000. As we reviewed the matters that were included in the RFQ, it came out that their bid was a total of, I think it was 81,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions?
If I may,
Sure.
Chairwoman, just to add to that, as Chris did mention, he did separate insurance out just to say, you know, if, in terms of if this is the insurance requirements, this is what the total will be. And then I would say his menu of items included a 2019 overview of the estimates, the way I understood it, and then a price for the 3 field hearings, and then up to $10,000 if individuals from the community were going to submit maps. And that gets you to the 95. I think if you're comparing just pricing, the 81,000 number that Jim would be appropriate, that's more of an apples to apples comparison, because that was included in the 79,000 of our strategy. So it was close in pricing if you exclude the 2 optional items.
Right,
The
and to
other-
further elaborate, and I have it here in front of me, base engagement was 62.5. Again, it's listed as county mandated insurance. Again, those were set by the risk management group. Brings it to 6,500. That brings you a subtotal of 69,000. And again, that doesn't, the additional field hearings listed as 3 was 12,000. And those were included, the need for field hearings was included for public engagement purposes in the RFQ itself, and was incorporated not just in this bid, but in the other submissions as well.
Any additional questions?
Yes, do we have any information on prior redistricting experience for the Glassburn Group?
As near as I can tell, and again, there are 3 individuals listed as the project team, or 4, I should say. Mr. Glassburn did note that he had worked, I believe, as an assistant to then Majority Leader Budish while they were in the House, and indicated some kind of talking or projects, including presentations regarding fair districting. I did not, as I recalled the information provided by the rest of the team, yes, there was public engagement and political activism, but I did not see any indication of any specific redistricting components from either Mr. Malamed, Reverend Phillips, and then Ann Hodge.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any additional questions? I'd like to first make a motion to add this item to the agenda as amended. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. The next item, we'll make a motion to vote on this item. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-443, Department of Information Technology, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Carasoft Technology Corporation in the amount not to exceed $67,664.84 for the purchase of 180 Slack Enterprise Grid licenses for the period July 13th, 2021 through July 12th, 2022, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Hold on.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
Miller?
We added the redistricting measure to the agenda, but I do not believe that we voted on action on the
Okay,
measure.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I
We did not.
misheard. So the first item was a motion to add the item. Is there a second?
It was
We- We did approve that.
Okay.
We did approve
Okay.
adding it to the agenda,
Yes.
but
So-
then
Okay,
we
so
did not vote on whether to approve the item.
Okay, 'cause I thought I said
So
that.
I
but
don't think we have to add it, it's on the agenda, we just have to amend
Add
it.
it, add it as amended,
We
right?
just have to amend the item that's on the agenda for the date.
That's correct, as amended. Okay. So, next, okay, so I could make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item approved. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Janelle.
Okay, I'm just throwing off now. Janelle Green, Department of IT, presenting the Slack item. This is an IT standard tool which allows our internal IT staff to communicate with each other for issue discussion and resolution. It works outside of our current communication tool, which is Teams, which is across the larger enterprise. This was originally submitted as a sole source, as Curasoft is the only vendor that is listed as a reseller for this product. During the course of the approval process with OPD, it was recommended to submit it as an RFP exemption due to the expiration of the maintenance at the time.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Okay, hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Dever. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-444, Department of Information Technology, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to AdviseX Technologies LLC in the amount not to exceed $33,318.30 for a state contract purchase of F5 Big IP maintenance licenses for the period February 21st, 2021 through February 20th, 2022, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. This is a renewal of our F5 licenses, which are our VPN licenses. We moved more from our previous provider, which was Cisco, to F5. A lot of the county accesses this for remote access to our applications and servers, and really increased during the pandemic when a lot of laptops were issued. This item is late. We were getting together the funding to fund this contract, excuse me, and also there was a delay in getting documentation back from the vendor.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Mr. McAleer, oh, Councilman.
Go ahead.
Councilman Blakey?
So I can understand perhaps other departments having difficulty getting the process through, but you're the Department of Technology and you still had difficulty getting this done on time?
So I just want to make a point of clarification on that. Just because we reside in IT, we still have to follow all the business processes that are set forth by the business owner, which is fiscal. So we can't sidestep any of the processes.
But you're
what
there
was-
to answer any questions they have, facilitate.
Right, right. So the issues that we had with getting this through was making sure we had the funding source together to fund this. And the other issue was getting the documentation from the vendor. So that's outside of the system. That was just communication and making sure that they could get the documents back. We do have that issue a lot where if we submit it to a company, they question a lot the forms that we require. So that requires a lot of back and forth. That also goes to their legal teams to make sure that they can submit those documents. Unfortunately, in this instance, it took far longer than we anticipated, but we submitted it forward as we needed to do so.
So if I just may follow, so it took 6 months past the beginning date to do all of what you just stated?
That is correct.
Okay, it seems, okay, thank you for the answer.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Mr. McAleer?
How many licenses do we have?
I do not have that on in front of me. I can get that outside of there, out of this. Like I said, we initially procured this in 2019, and we started to transition from our prior vendor to F5, and then we increased it in 2020. So after this meeting, I can get you those numbers.
Thanks.
Sure.
And we pay on a per license fee, right? Or is it?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Move to approve.
Item, any opposed? I'm sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2021-445, Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division, recommending awards and enter into agreements with various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $5,600 for the Community Diversion Program for the period August 16th, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, with City of Shaker Heights in the amount not to exceed $3,400, with City of Warrensville Heights in the amount not to exceed $2,200.
Good morning, Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. The community diversion programs are the programs that we utilize to divert youth away from official court involvement. We have a total of around 45 to 50 cities that participate, and these are 2 more out of the group for 2021 that we are putting through.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
I move approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Next
Next
item,
item.
BC 2021-446, Office of the Medical Examiner, requesting to amend board approval number BC 2021-354, dated July 12, 2021, which approved a direct open market purchase and made an award on a purchase order to Fisher Scientific for the purchase of various lab supplies for the DNA department by changing the amount from $5,355.18 to $5,355.43.
Good morning, Mark Banza with the Medical Examiner Office. As mentioned, this item was previously approved last month with the vendor twofold. One product, we received lower pricing, and they honored that, and we updated, and they also forgot to add shipping in the quote. So that's really why this is being brought forward today. We made those updates in the system. The price is just increasing by 25 cents, but this already reached approval, so.
Any questions on this item?
May I ask, just technically, is this really needed for 25 cents?
I agree.
Is that
Just
what
as
we're
a
saying?
matter
If
of
we, if we want to be able to pay the 25 cents, yeah, we don't have approval of it, so we don't have a way to.
Yeah, because we operate in a matching system with the invoices, and I'm noticing that's coming up a lot in the medical industry. They'll always honor a quote if it's at that price, but they won't go over. But if they can lower the price for us, they will do so. So we resubmit through the system, but we have to match the invoice in order to issue the check.
Can we, and thank you, can we double check to make sure, because I thought it was supposed to be within $1. Is that not the way it's set up?
It's a matter of we don't have the authority. I mean, it's the authority to spend. It is, since we do it down to the penny, we have to get approval down to the penny of what it is. So it's, the invoice may match through, but again, if we don't have the official.
Thank you.
So if it was just 1 penny, we would be sitting here.
Technically, yes. If, I mean, again, we could have that conversation with the vendor, but I'm trying to not do that. But again, if this is the pricing that they acknowledge for us, that's what we had authority down to, was to spend 18 cents.
Okay.
So just to confirm, right, the PO was in the first amount, right? And so the only way we can issue a check is for that dollar amount without, okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Any seconds? Seconded, okay. Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-447, Office of the Medical Examiner, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Thermo Electron North America LLC in the amount not to exceed $34,043 for maintenance on Vanquish and Quantus mass spectrometer instruments for the period September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2022, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Mark Banz again with the Medical Examiner Office. Just a note, Thermo Electron North America is the service sector of Fisher Scientific, and this is the preventive maintenance contract for our mass spectrometers. Due to the rise in deaths that result in toxicology screenings, our instruments have been running full throttle, as you all know, and we've had multiple service calls in the past that range from roughly $5,000 to $8,000 per trip out in estimate. So this will protect us for the year and cover both of our spectrometers in use right now.
Are there any questions on this item? Mr. McAleer?
Or do we get unlimited maintenance calls, or is this, do we pay on a per use spaces.
No, this will cover all maintenance on those spectrometers, and it's on both the Vanquish and the Horizon.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions?
Move to approve.
Any seconds? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2021-448, Sheriff's Department, recommending an award on a purchase order to Charmtex Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $79,350 for the purchase of 1,500 replacement anti-suicide blankets for jail inmates.
Good morning, Donna Cleo, Sheriff's Fiscal Manager, asking for an award on the purchase of 1,500 anti-suicide blankets. The last time we purchased these blankets was in 2019, August of 2019. And these blankets are not just issued to the mental health unit. We give an anti-suicide blanket to every inmate, hence the reason we go through them pretty quickly. So this is recommending an award for another 1,500 of them because the current ones that we have are pretty worn out.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. All those in favor say aye. I'm sorry, is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank you.
item.
Next item, BC 2021-449, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Family and Children First Council, and Division of Senior and Adult Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Pure Place Networks LLC for maintenance of a cloud-based comprehensive case management system for the period August 4th, 2014 through July 31st, 2024, to expand the scope of services to develop a public web portal and referral queue and a case management program for the Closing the Achievement Gap program, effective August 16th, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $74,765.
Good morning. Paul Porter, Health and Human Services, on behalf of the Family and Children First Council. You'll notice that this has both FCFC and DSAS listed on the caption. This is a contract that DSAS and FCFC share. However, this specific modification is specific to FCFC. It's for the creation of a web portal and referral queue so individuals or service providers can log on to a website and make a referral to FCFC using a web-based tool instead of having to do like a paper or fax or phone referral. Additionally, this is going to set up a case management program for the Closing the Achievement Gap program that FCFC has. FCFC already has some of their programming inside Pure Place. This will expand the system to allow them to include CTAG. There's an annual cost with the case management portion for ongoing users to use that system. However, the costs associated with the web portal and referral queue are more like one-time costs to set up the tool, because that when a referral comes in, the referral might get moved to case management, but it's just kind of a smaller piece of the program. The CTAG program for case management is going to have multiple screens and more users that have to access it on an ongoing basis. So that makes up more of the cost of the amendment. As the item indicates, this contract already goes to 2024. So this is not an extension of time or anything. It's just the additional funds for these two new programs. The reason we're amending the current contract is the cost to develop either one of these tools from the ground up versus adding them to the contract that FCFC is already using would be astronomically higher. There are functions that would be necessary for these programs that are already part of the existing infrastructure, so we don't have to invest in that right now. We just get the opportunity to add these specific programs.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Miller?
So when you talk about referral, are you talking about referring individual students for participation in the program?
Exactly. It could be an individual student or a family for involvement. The referral might not necessarily come from a school exclusively. It could come from another service provider in the community or a different referral source like a social worker.
And am I correct in understanding that what we're doing here is taking an existing system and modifying it so that it's usable by this program?
Precisely. We're just modifying the existing system by adding these two different types of functionality, if you will.
And what other things is the existing system used for?
Sure. Some of the other service delivery, tracking, and case management for programs that FCFC has outside of closing the achievement gap. The CTAG program just represents a portion of what FCFC does. So in most cases, this will be the same kind of work that FCFC is already using PeerPlace for.
Okay, thank you.
Just with a different population.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Moving on to exemptions, item BC 2021-450, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, requesting an alternative procurement process to solicit additional proposals from various providers in connection with the request for proposals issued on requisition 6211 for out-of-home care for children in custody of the Division of Children and Family Services for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023.
Good morning, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. We're here to request approval of an alternative procurement process to solicit additional proposals for the out-of-home care program. We're seeking additional vendors because we have 58 vendors currently delivering services under the contract that's set to expire 12/31 of this year. However, in response to the RFP we issued earlier this summer, we only received 54 proposals, and we are recommending award to all 54 of those vendors. The Division of Children and Family Services has indicated that even right now, the 58 vendors that we have isn't necessarily enough to meet current capacity, let alone what we're forecast to have as of January 1st next year. You see the mission critical requests that come through this board, to add vendors at different times. And looking at the current list of vendors, there were 14 vendors that either were unable to submit a proposal or didn't submit a proposal for whatever reason. We're asking for the opportunity to seek out proposals from those vendors and others and add them to the master agreement that will come before council for approval to start January 1. We talked to the Department of Purchasing about doing just a reissue, another RFP to seek additional vendors. However, if we did that, that would end up on a separate track with a separate master agreement. That's not our goal for this program. We want to make sure that these vendors are included in the master agreement that comes before council. And in talking with Catherine and her team, the alternative procurement was the only way to accomplish that. We do anticipate going through the same type of process where we'll get proposals from the vendors and evaluate and score those proposals before we make recommendations for award.
Are there any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, items BC 2021-451 through 456.
Okay, let's take a moment to review the consent agenda items. Are there any questions on the consent agenda items?
I just have one.
Sure.
On 453 for Treasurer Murray, is this the same company we currently use?
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. This is not Trevor. This will be a new vendor.
And you think you're comfortable with us transitioning here in the next month? Because it starts September 1?
That's going to start September 1 will start the implementation. We have extended the current vendor, which is official payments, until February.
Okay, so you're anticipating sometime in February then?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Good luck.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Chris, do you know, and we don't need, is it the is the percentage that they charge to use the same as the current vendor? Was it less? Do you have that?
The current vendor right now as a matter of fact, debit cards, which are the cheapest of the two between credit cards and debit cards. Debit cards are 1% with the current vendor. With the new vendor, Point and Pay, it will be a flat debit card charge of $2.95. So that means if you're paying $300 or $1,000, you're still going to pay the $2.95. I think that's a value added for the taxpayer.
Credit card, the same? Or no?
Credit card is actually going to be a little less than the current. Credit cards will be 2.3%, and the current pricing is 2.45%.
Great, thank you, Chris.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next, is there any other business?
No other business?
Any other public comment? Make a motion to approve, to adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.